Hello, welcome to the KWAhnDo Show. My name is Grandmaster Chuck Beiersdorfer. We're going to do an interview today with a legend here in Cincinnati and around the world in karate. And as you all know, we need your help. So if you would like and subscribe to this, that gives us a little more attention of what we're doing. So we are going to interview Grandmaster Dwight Holley. His background is pretty extensive in the martial arts. He's been training karate for 57 years, I believe.
60
years. And he was in the military. He was an Air Force vet. He also was a criminal investigator for the Air Force. So, Grandmaster Holley, can you give us a little bit about your background?
Sure. And let me just throw a little something there. I appreciate the respect of using the term Grandmaster. I prefer Sensei, which is basically teacher. A term of Grandmaster in Asia and Japan is more a term used for honorific during a ceremony. Typically, everyone knows me as Sensei, and I'm good with that.
Yes, Sensei. Thank you.
That being said, I was a scrawny kid. Still, I'm a scrawny adult, but started in '64 because I was constantly bullied. And I tried boxing. It didn't work. I got my lights knocked out a couple of times. Judo, I was too little to try to get big guys and toss them because I didn't understand leverage. And I had seen a television show, I'm not sure if it was I Spy or The Man from U.N.C.L.E. or something, and they were doing karate, and they would strike people at a distance. And I thought, man, that's fascinating. And so a friend of mine connected me with a guy named Jerome in Madisonville who was teaching in the park. I connected, started learning karate from him, supposedly Japanese karate. I look back now, at that point he was supposed to be a third-degree black belt. As I look at it now, this guy was not very good. But it was my start. And just progressed from there. I moved into Tang Sudo for a little while under one of Master An's students in Avondale. Trained with that for a while. As I did Japanese karate, they got upset that I was doing two styles. And it didn't work out so well, so I left the Korean style because of the teachers. Not that I didn't love Korean karate. It was the teachers that, mistreated me for taking two styles. And I never looked back. Been doing karate since 1964. And someday, hopefully, I'll get pretty good at it.
Well, that's an interesting because you mentioned that you studied Tang Sudo under one of Grandmaster An's students. And that's where we are now. The KWAhnDo show stands for KWAhnDo, the way of An. That's what the whole show's premise are. Right. And we try to get people who have had a contact with Grandmaster An one way or another. That's an indirect contact. Did you have any time to test with them while you were training with them?
Believe it or not, I got all the way to orange belt. My first karate tournament I did as a yellow belt. No, it was a white belt. I take that back. And I think white and yellow belts were in. And I fought, and they all said, you did pretty good fighting. I think I took third place or something. I did kata, and I cleaned everybody out with kata. And so my mind said, oh, this was easy. I didn't have to fight anybody, and I won. So kata has been part of my history, my forte. That is what everybody kind of knows me for, is the number of kata, over 100 kata that I've amassed in my career. Can I do them all well? I do about 3 really well. And learning different systems to increase that knowledge and give me versatility. But yes, I got the yellow belt or orange belt, Tang Sudo. And it amazes some of my friends because I still remember some of the basic terminology, Kisao, Changyak, Kangyak, Upchagi, Dochagi. I still kind of remember that.
Yeah, yeah.
And I feel really good about it. And I always tell people, look, whatever art I'm studying, I'm going to put myself 100% immersed into that art. So I love martial arts.
And that's whether it's Taekwondo, Judo, Karate, the different styles. There's different styles of Korean karate. There's, Sangkwan, Chongbukwan, Jido-kwan, Budo-kwan. I mean, there's a lot of different styles. And in karate, there's Shotokan, all right, Goju-ryu, Shoin-ryu.
Right.
There's a bunch of different styles, Shito-ryu, but they're all doing the same thing, and they all respect each other in their own ways. Right. That's the thing that I've learned to love about the martial arts in general is that the respect we learned to give and take. You know, when we're on the mat, when I'm competing against somebody, we're trying to beat the snot out of each other, right? But afterwards, we hug each other and congratulate and tell them what we did wrong. What can I do? How can I get better? And a good person would say, well, you know, you should slip this punch a little quicker. Then you're going, hey, well, thank you. You help each other. Even though you're competitors, you want to help each other. And that was the day. And now you see it more so.
Yeah.
In different styles.
Right. The old guard, like us, more understand that with our experience. I'm not sure about the new generation when you watch them doing eclectic martial arts and I forgot, extreme martial arts, and you're taking weapons, throwing them in the air, catching them behind their back, taking a sword and tossing it around.
What's the sense in that?
Yeah, I'm kind of, I don't know, disappointed and wonder where we're going. Older guys like us need to keep the tradition alive. If we don't, what's it going to be like 50 years from now?
Exactly.
It's going to be forgotten.
It's good, and it's the etiquette part, the how you treat your master instructor, how you treat your instructor. That's part of the martial arts.
Right. The entire program.
When you see the MMA mixed martial arts, sometimes you wonder where's the martial arts in the mixed martial arts.
Right.
Because it's supposed to be an honorable art.
Right.
And like seeing certain people, like Gracie, he always wore his doba, his gi.
Right.
Right? And then they started doing no gi fighting because they realized he had the advantage of wearing gis, right? You know as well as I do in judo or ground fighting, if they have a gi on, a kimono on, by God, that's a weapon for you to use against them.
Right, right.
You know, and they forget that part.
Yes, absolutely. It's crazy. And the colorful gis that they wear and all the frills and fringes, and it's insane. Our teachers and our masters probably rolling in their grave going, what the heck?
They are. I believe that. My master to this day still wears just a regular white uniform, not crossover, because they went back. Taekwondo went to the V-neck in the 70s.
That's easier. Yeah.
You know, it's easier. I still use an open gi, a kimono type gi. I like it. I like the way it feels, and it's the way I've been doing it for years.
It's tradition.
It's tradition, exactly. Now, in the martial arts, you worked as a criminal investigator, and you were studying karate while you were in the Air Force.
Karate and weapons, 2 styles of karate and kobudo. Yes.
And where was that at?
I was basically based in the Philippines, and I spent a year in Japan, a temporary duty. So that was the love of my life, to get to Japan, because that was a dream. Since then, I've been back probably more than 12 times. Planning to go in October again. That's the plan. But yes, I was very fortunate to have that opportunity to go to Asia and train. Not everybody gets that. So
True.
I was lucky.
True. You know, and when you go to your homeland, you know, it's amazing to see the different aspects of martial arts that we don't see here, we don't get here. Right. But all of a sudden you're getting immersed back to where it came from. You're going, oh, wow, that's what we're supposed to do. That's why we're doing what we're doing.
Right. And it's so important because you understand the culture. Here in America, as we teach martial arts, our job is to try to give them the understanding of the culture itself. These things are partially why they practice and do what they do. It is a part of their culture. You know, the martial arts, the Budo, the Zen, the mindset, they grow up with that. We don't. We're adopting it and trying to learn it. So it's very important if you had that opportunity. I know you were fortunate enough to go to Korea. I was fortunate enough to go to Japan, to see it firsthand, to talk to the actual people, to understand that, it's not just kick and punch. There's the mentality, the spirituality that is encompassing why we do what we do. And that's just a beautiful thing.
It is. It's just, and a lot of people in this day and age, they don't get that part.
Right.
You know, like you say, they're doing the frill martial arts. Right. You know, anytime you let a weapon leave your hand, then you're weaponless.
Right.
You know, if they knock it away or take it away or knock you down, then you got to fumble for it.
Right.
So it looks great, you know, but people that are doing a jump. Now they're doing, in our day, a 360 was a big kick. Now they're doing 720s, 1080s.
Hardcore.
Yeah, but the impact that they're having wouldn't hurt anybody, in my opinion.
Right.
They would hit you, but you're not going to get substantial damage.
Right.
Because your inertia is lost in the spin. But, we see that and we think, hey, we have to keep the tradition in our traditional martial art.
Right.
And that's what I know you do at your dojo.
Right.
And you respect that.
Yes.
And your students respect that.
Right.
And that's obvious. In martial arts, there's a lot of movies, right? And I want to ask you, what is your favorite martial arts movie?
I guess my favorite, believe it or not, is not quite a martial arts movie, but it has martial arts in it. And that would be when Jason Statham came out with The Transporter. Mm-hmm. I love The Transporter. The series got a little off, but he always did martial arts, and I love The Transporter. And I would have to say Jason Statham is probably one of my most favorite actors because it's not just the karate, it's just his intensity. In every movie he does, he's exploring some martial arts, like The Beekeeper that came out just recently. And this new one he's got coming out, The Working Class Man or whatever. So yeah, I would say, and you didn't ask me a favorite, but I got to tie them together.
Okay, cool, Jason. So not particularly because of his style, but because of his actual persona, the way he puts himself out,
right,
and display and demonstrates the martial arts and the spirit, of the martial arts,
and the seriousness, the intensity, and that's crucial. He's not jumping backwards onto somebody's roof or jumping over a tree. It's right there, and you're getting this, and he gets hit, and he hits back, and it kind of gives a little bit of some realism to some degree. It's a movie. It's choreographed for the excitement, but I like Jason.
And speaking of choreographed, the way they're choreographed, I've seen interviews with different people, Michael Jai White, he explains that if they did regular karate moves or taekwondo moves in a movie, people wouldn't really like it. It doesn't apply.
Right.
They have to make it, the choreographer has to make it so the application is big and obvious. You see how it's going to happen. Whereas in reality, we want to make it be short and quick.
Yeah, in and out. Boom.
In and out.
Done.
You want to be done and over.
Right.
Who wants to fight for an hour?
Right.
Which is really, really neat in a way, because we were taught, point fighting in karate, point fighting in Tong Soo Do was getting your points in and out.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? With a clean technique.
Right.
Clean technique.
Yeah, the old way.
The old way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Today it's a game of tag, period.
And that
it's disappointing.
It's, and like the Olympics, Taekwondo in the Olympics.
Oh.
A friend of mine, Herb Perez, he was appalled by Taekwondo now in the Olympics, and he's an Olympian. Because it's the technique they're using isn't really
effective.
Yeah, it's not effective. And there was a time in Taekwondo in the USTU, United States Taekwondo Union, that our rules came out for a couple years that the only way you got a point was with trembling shock. Well, that was great, but a lot of people got hurt, because people didn't have the control.
That's
right. And trembling shock means you have to rock your opponent.
Right.
So then they changed it. Now they've gone to the other side of the spectrum where a light touch gets you a point.
Right.
And, how will that happen? It's just not effective.
Right. Well, I don't know if you saw karate in the Olympics, the last Olympics, but they did Japanese karate. They had it, their showcase, they were trying it, and two guys fighting, and the one guy moved in, and the guy from South Africa, wherever he was from, kicked the guy in the face, knocked him out. We're thinking from the old school, yes.
Yeah.
He won. In the street, that would have won.
He got disqualified.
No, he got disqualified, and the other guy won the match. And I was just shaking my head, going, are you kidding me? Because I'm thinking, and I've competed years ago. I stopped now, obviously. I'm 70 plus, like yourself. So not that I don't want to. My wife says, you have nothing to prove. Don't get out there. I'm like, I don't want to. But long story short is, I don't teach tournament karate. I teach what I call street karate. it's traditional. So I tell them in the dojo, what you do here is how you're going to apply it in the street.
Exactly.
There are no referees or judges out there. You got to make this work. And you've got to train with that mentality. We have a phrase in Japanese, ike tots, which is one blow kill. Mm-hmm. You know, we don't start a fight, right?
Right.
We daggone sure want to finish it.
You want to end it.
Yeah, and we want to finish it within 2 or 3 seconds. So, yeah, that's the mentality. And today, this game of tag, when I watch it, unbelievable.
No. And if you see an old stylist competing against a young stylist who's younger, obviously, they're quicker, they're faster, they can throw all these kicks. Right. But if you or I went in through one hard technique, one hard kick, they're going to drop because they've never been hit that hard before.
They complain. You hit too hard.
Yeah, my fellow black belts as I was training under Grandmaster on, they didn't like fighting me because I blocked too hard.
Right.
I'm blocking as a block and attack or as a block and defense.
Right.
A block's an attack, in my opinion. You're
Any
attacking what's
opportunity.
coming at you.
Any opportunity.
Yeah.
Any opportunity.
And nowadays, well, that wasn't fair. He kicked him in the mouth and knocked him out. That wasn't fair. Well, yes, it was.
Right.
You know. So, martial arts. You teach karate for a living, in a way. Okay, you have a regular job like everybody else does, right? But you have a full-time school. You've got a lot of students. How has martial arts affected your life?
Well, you know, again, I go back to when I started in the 60s, it was because I was being bullied. By the time I made brown belt, the bullying stopped, and I sort of built a reputation. People were, you know, oh, we don't want to mess with him. You know, he knows karate. And that was great. I could care less, because at that point, it was no longer about me being bullied or trying to defend myself. I felt at brown belt level, I was pretty good. I could, you know, I thought I was pretty good anyway. But you know how brown belts are. But at that point, things started to change. And at that point, I started reading Black Belt magazine in the late 60s. I made my black belt in 1969. And I started, you know, seeing these magazines. And that's when it said to me, there's a higher level. I'm looking at Fumiya Demura. I'm looking at Sagaga. I'm looking at all these great masters, Yamaguchi. And I'm thinking, man, I want to go to Japan one day. I want to learn from these guys. I was so inspired. It was no more about, I got to defend myself. I think I'm pretty good. You know, my head was like, but I then realized, and I would read, and they would talk about this mystical energy, this ki, this spirituality, the Zen mind. And like, nobody was here to teach me that. I became good friends with Mr. William Dimitri, the late William Dimitri Hanchi, and he became my mentor. And we communicated overseas. His daughter, Devora, and I were in Japan at the same time. She was in Okinawa, I was in Japan, and we would write letters back and forth. And I understood that Mr. Dimitri was a Zen Buddhist priest. And so he kind of enlightened me. And when I got overseas, I got to see these Japanese guys and their mentality. And it just, you know, it was no longer about kicking and punching. The kicking and punching was for me to stay healthy. But learning the mindset, and that's what was beautiful to go to Japan, to meet Japanese people directly, to walk in their daily shoes and to learn from them. That was just so huge. That changed. It made me a softer person. It was me repeating what my teacher would say, I don't like trouble. So even though I could fight, I didn't want to fight. You want to step away from fighting. You know, hey, you want a beer, dude? You want to fight? Let's go. I'll pay for a beer. Let's go have a drink. And I don't drink. But, you know, make them a friend. Change the mindset. Because there's a saying, the strongest man in the world is the weakest man in the world. Because you possess the power to take a life with a finger, you should not easily be drawn into a confrontation or a fight. Because you can fell a man with one blow, why should you?
Correct. Use
this, not this. And the other saying was, when the temperature rises, the fist should lower. When the fist rises, the temperature should lower. You shouldn't have them both together. You know?
Correct.
So that was just the way I began to change and understand. Karate was life. And that's what we do. And I know that's your feeling. Karate, Taekwondo, martial arts, it is about life. It's about living. It's not about beating somebody up or taking somebody's life.
The way I was taught is, my job as a sabum nim, your job as a sensei, is to make our students better than us. Not for us to always be above our student,
right,
but we want to see our student excel and become better than we are.
Yes.
That means we did our job.
Thank you.
We're not holding back like I can always beat you up, because why? When one day when we're both older and we need someone to defend us, we want them people to defend us.
Step in. Hey, take care of sensei.
Yeah, we want to say, you're our sensei, you're our sabum nim. We want to protect you.
Right.
Thank you.
Yeah.
But that's the way. And we teach how to fight to learn not to fight. It's exactly what you're saying.
And that's where kata steps in.
Exactly right.
It's the art of fighting without fighting. That's what and Bruce Lee said that. But we can adopt that to our own martial arts.
Right.
Karate, taekwondo, tansuro, kung fu, whatever. So we learn to fight so we don't have to.
That's exactly right. And people don't get it. They think of martial artists are violent people. Well, we're not violent people. We have the ability to be violent people, but we chose not to be that violent person.
Exactly.
Okay? Because we wanted to learn how to take the martial arts internally and make ourselves so we're more stable mentally, able to focus on tasks given us, like a fight.
Right.
Okay? So that's what people don't get that. Kids in learning the martial arts today, I don't know how it is at your dojo, but at my dojo, it seems like when the kids all of a sudden go, Mommy, I don't want to do this anymore. I'm bored.
Right.
Well, then they take them to play soccer. They take them to play football. And then within a few months, they're bored with that.
They're bored with that, yeah.
Now, my mother got me involved with Grandmaster On and told him that he could do whatever he wanted to keep me in shape.
Right.
Okay, to push me to my outer edges so that I could be better than what I am.
Right.
She saw that, and that was in 1971. Okay, and Master On did that. He taught me, but he also taught me the way, how to teach.
Right.
How to make it so that your students look at you and look up to you and go, he's sharing his heart with me.
Right.
But for the parents to let the kids just quit.
Right.
My mom, when I wanted to quit, she told me, you're getting back in there.
Yeah.
You're going right back. And I was 17. She goes, you're going right back. You live in my house, you're going to do it as I say.
Right.
So I went back, and it just, it was a learning curve. But today, kids are allowed to leave and quit.
Yeah.
And you see kids with potential, and they don't get to the potential because they're pulled out. Right. Do you see that?
Oh, I do. And their fascination with these other sports, obviously they make more money playing soccer, baseball, football. We get that. The mystique, especially as they get up to high school and coaches are out looking and they're thinking about college and parents are also looking at that possibility. Yeah, I do see that. I have so many young people that have come in with potential. Some have made black belt and then they disappear. And it's distressing, it's disheartening because you see the potential.
Right.
You're like, oh my gosh, this person. And I had one that was ranked in WKF, World Karate Federation, that does karate, ranked number 8 in the world. And he had an event with a girl and another competitor. His name was Deuce Jacobs. And lo and behold, he quit karate. I still communicate with him. His teammate was Ariel Taraz, who was in the Olympics, who placed, I think he took the bronze.
Oh, wow. Wow.
Kata. And Ariel was at that time 35th in the world, WKF. So that, if that tells you, and I know Ariel Taraz, I met him.
That's substantial.
And he's out of Miami. So, but yeah, oh my God, to have a student like that, and as you know, Sonny Kim, Officer late Sonny Kim, I raised him since he was 10 years old. To watch him grow, every black belt he ever earned was from me, up to 6th degree black belt. So when you see people with potential here, life dealt him a hand that took him away from us, and that was a tremendous loss because Officer Kim was just an amazing person. Technically, one of my top 3 technically gifted students ever.
And he was Korean.
He was Korean.
He
You
was
gotta
Korean.
love that. You gotta love that.
I used to tease him all the time.
Yeah.
I said, what are you learning a Japanese art for? You're Korean.
He started in Taekwondo.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And I think he made yellow belt or orange belt. When I met him, he was headed to take Mr. Jeltz. I don't know if you ever remember him.
Jeltz, yeah.
He was headed to his class, and I called him, hey, kid, where are you going? I'm going to do karate. Why are you going down there? Turns out he lived in Norwood. I lived in Evanston. He lived like 10 minutes by bicycle from me, and he ended up coming to me, and he never looked back.
And that's, you had a great life experience with Sonny Kim.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he was a police officer. Mm-hmm. He was formidable as a police officer,
Mm-hmm.
you know, but he still wanted to keep training.
Yes.
He didn't quit, become
No.
a black belt and say, I'm good now. I know all that I can know.
Right, right. And he went out and studied other places long after he got in his black belt, maybe third degree black belt. He went out and he started seeking knowledge. And I will tell you, seek knowledge. You know, I don't know everything, and I'm sure you tell your students, you don't know everything. That's why we put on a gi or tobak and keep training.
Right.
Because we're still trying to improve. We're still trying to learn and get better. And it's a lifelong pursuit, which when we see the kids quit, they don't get that. They don't understand.
That's
this is
exactly
never
right.
ending.
It's never ending.
My learning stops the day I die.
Exactly. And then you might learn something when you know.
When I take that last breath.
Yeah. I mean, and kids, people don't realize that dedication. The dedication is to yourself.
Mm-hmm. Right.
That's to yourself.
Right.
And they don't get it.
No.
Because if you learn to dedicate yourself to whatever you do, you'll be good at. Because you're putting everything in your heart into that.
Yes.
You know, and you having Sonny Kim as a student,
Yes.
that's testament to you as an instructor.
Yeah.
Okay. Unfortunately, life happens
Yeah.
to all of us. Yeah. But he was a great man. He led a good example.
Yes.
And where do you think the martial arts is headed to?
You know, that's a tough question. I don't like what I'm seeing with this new generation, this whatever X, Y, Z, QR, whatever they are. I don't know. I don't like what I'm seeing with the multicolored uniforms, all the gear where they're tapping guys on the top of the head with jumping back fists, which in the street you'll get either shot or beat the crap up. I don't like where I see that. But I see guys like yourself, or like myself, still pushing. So I think there's hope. When you go to Korea, you go to Japan, you go to Okinawa, you go to China, I see there's still a lot of people getting it. Unfortunately, the media highlights the garbage, or we call McDojos.
McDojo, exactly.
Yeah, McDojo. Dime a dozen, every street corner. So I don't like what I see where it's headed, tossing the swords in the air and all that stuff. But I think there's still hope. I won't give up.
No, I'm not going to give up. I want to make my students better than me,
Right.
so that they try to follow that example.
Right.
And when they say, who's your instructor, that should be to them, they should say, An Kyung-Wan,
Right.
not Chuck Beiersdorfer, because he's my instructor, and I emulate what he taught me.
Right.
You know, and that's what's really important.
And you emulate what your teacher taught you, and so the students follow suit. And so I do the same thing.
You
I
want
try
to.
to tell my teachers, I tell my students, look, this is how my teacher taught. This is what my teacher said. This is how my teacher walked. My teacher used to walk like this. I tried to, when I was young, walk like my teacher, because I thought that's what helped me grow to be better if I did that, understood that. It was funny, but no, the ability of trying to follow your teacher's footsteps truly is something to be understood and acknowledged.
Now, martial arts. What other martial arts do you feel would be a good companion to yours?
You know, I've been fortunate that I've studied Goju-Ryu, got a Dan grade in Goju-Ryu. So for me, the hard and soft is what Goju translates to. It has given me a completely different side of the Shotokan that I practice, which is it's like college. You have a major and a minor. Shotokan is my major, it's my lifelong. Goju has been a minor, I picked that up and it's helped me a lot. Weaponry, which is also another minor, has been huge, because I always tell the students who study weapons with me, you're not going to pick up a weapon and be good unless you can control yourself. If you can't control your own body, you're not going to control a weapon that's alien to your body. So it's first you have to train in karate, whatever martial art, empty hand first. You have to control, if you can't control your body, you can't control your opponent. You can't even control your own body. So that's a lesson that I teach. Once you've gotten control, brown belt, black belt, first, second, third degree black belt, we do weapons. It's an additional methodology. It helps us gain extra control over our limbs and our body.
Yeah.
So I think weapons, whether it's whatever it is, something alien to your body is good. Whether it's harness, Filipino stick fighting, I've studied that overseas. I immerse myself. There's an old saying, one who knows only one way leaves himself open to attack from all others. So be multifaceted. Samurai were very educated. Mm-hmm. They weren't just the sword. They were very educated. Chinese classics, they knew atimiwaza or striking techniques, they knew jujitsu, they knew all kinds of things. Medicine, healing, like a ninja, like Stephen Hayes, mm-hmm. who we both know. Mm-hmm. Very multifaceted. And I think that's important. And so with us, kids, education, academia, get it. It's going to open the door for you. So many other things. You're learning how to learn, and that's what we want you to do. Be multifaceted. It's not just kicking and punching.
It's not. And you know, weapons, I teach my students, mm-hmm. Weapons are an extension of your hands. Mm-hmm. Okay? You have to learn how to use these before you can learn how to use those.
Right.
Okay? And if you don't understand the concept of how it moves mm-hmm. and how it emulates, you're just simply changing from a thumb attack to the end of a sai.
Right.
But you have to understand that principle.
Right.
You know, and that's something that all martial arts have in common.
Yes.
Is that in true people who want to teach the true martial arts, I want the student to have the basic knowledge first before they want to do the jump flying kicks. Let's teach you how to kick first.
100%.
Before you learn the flying kicks.
Exactly.
Well, I would love, we could talk forever, okay? Sure. But unfortunately, we have to put a close to this. But I want to thank you for taking your time. It's an honor to have you here. It truly is. You are a legend. I feel that you're a legend, okay? I've seen your ore form.
You're very kind.
Okay? And, you know, as martial artists, it's our job to get the message out. To say, hey, there are good things for your kids. There are good things for adults.
Right.
You just got to try.
Right.
Well, in closing, as I usually say, 감사합니다.
Arigatou gozaimashita.
Oh,